right now. And I'm definitely going to be asking something about one of these last chapters. So maybe even predict. What do you think my question's going to be? Okay. So I'm actually going to take that chapter, The Last Queen of Egypt, and that's going to be my first question. Why was Cleopatra the last queen of Egypt? Okay. So, and then I am going to ask two questions here. So you can always do more than one in each of these boxes. You have to have at least one, but you can always do more than one. What was Cleopatra's childhood like? I'm going to say not even just childhood. I'm going to just say young life. Okay, so there are two things I'm going to be thinking about as I get started with my story. And I also going to be thinking about some more questions. If I think of some good questions while I'm reading, I'll come and jot those down. But Cleopatra.
Who was Cleopatra?
Nope. So I'm going to read this. This is a really good introduction here for Cleopatra. So, yeah, let's just enjoy listening. Cleopatra was queen of Egypt more than 2,000 years ago. Today, she is still one of history's most famous queens. Books and plays have been written about her. Movies have been made about her. Those stories show what writers think she was like. The truth is, there are many things we do not know about Cleopatra. Her letters and other writings were lost. Images and statues of her made during her lifetime are gone. They would have offered important clues about what Cleopatra was like. Without them, much of her life is a mystery. So that's a drawing of Cleopatra by Michelangelo, famous artist. Elizabeth Taylor starred in the movie Cleopatra in 1963, and a modern pin that pictures Cleopatra. So there really are a lot of unknown things about her. We do know that Cleopatra was smart, brave, and charming. She was still a teenager when she became Queen of Egypt in 51 BCE. Whoa, so when I think about, I wrote down that question, what was Cleopatra's young life like? Well, she was already a queen when she was a teenager. Interesting. Okay, a beauty queen. Some people have said Cleopatra was a great beauty. Others said she was pleasant looking, but had a hooked nose and a pointed chin. It was the way she talked and acted that made her beautiful. This coin in one of her images of Cleopatra from her time that has been found. In his own words, the attraction of her person, joining with the charm of her conversation, and the character that attended all she did or all said or did, was something bewitching. Plutarch, a Greek historian. So here is a map of what the Roman Empire was like when she came into power. You can see ancient Egypt right there, but we also see Greece right above it, and we have Rome right up above there. So this is kind of more like, this is like what our modern day time looks like, but this just shows where like those places are like now today. There's Greece and there's like Rome, but Rome is in Italy. But the Roman Empire was quite large at that point. It spanned big, huge distances. Egypt is in Africa. Its northern border is in the Mediterranean Sea. So we can see the Mediterranean Sea right above it in Egypt. To the northwest was Rome. Today, Rome is a city in Italy. In Cleopatra's time, Rome was also the name of a large, powerful empire with a strong army. Roman leaders wanted to control the world, yet for almost 20 years, Cleopatra kept Rome from taking over Egypt. Words to know: empire, a group of countries or areas under the rule of one government. So, this kind of goes into her young life. Cleopatra was born in the city of Alexandria, Egypt in 69 BCE. Her ancestors or family from earlier generations were originally from Greece, but they had ruled Egypt for more than 250 years. a statue that some believe shows Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy the 12th. The calendar we use today began with the year, it says AD, but I always go with CE1. Cleopatra lived before that time. Her calendar ended in the year 1 BC. On that calendar, the years were counted backward, like negative numbers on a number line, to the year 1 BCE. For example, Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE. She turned 5 years old in 64 BCE. The first person in Cleopatra's family to rule Egypt was named Ptolemy, and he arrived in Egypt with Alexander the Great, a king from northern Greece. Alexander took over Egypt in 332 BCE. Ptolemy was a general in his army. When Alexander died, Ptolemy became ruler of Egypt. Historians called him Ptolemy the First. And so, Roman numerals, we've kind of talked about Roman numerals in class a few times. It just kind of breaks it down. This is details of a mosaic showing Alexander the Great in battle. Alexandria was a center for learning. Scholars came from all over the world to study there. The city had the largest library in the world. It had thousands of scrolls written in many languages. Most girls did not go to school. It was different for Cleopatra. As a member of the ruling family, she got a good education. She studied history, science, medicine, math. She read the work of important writers. She also learned to speak many languages. So I'm going to go back to my ask and answer question note taker here, because I'm getting some stuff. I don't know why she was the last queen, but I can do this. She went to school, which didn't always happen for girls or kids. Remember when we've learned about ancient Egypt? She learned, always good to go back and reread. She learned math, history, reading, writing, and even how to speak new languages. Cool. Put that one right there. Okay, so I'm going to keep on reading.
Alexandria was a center.
In her time, when Cleopatra was a child, growing up in Egypt from 68 to 52 BCE, life was very different for them from it is now. I'm not going to read this part. This is a lot of stuff that we learned about during ancient Egypt. But if you were curious about wanting to come read this book, definitely come and take a look at this time. Just gives you some things about daily life in ancient Egypt. A fight for power. Cleopatra's father died in 51 BCE. He left his throne to Cleopatra and her younger brother, known by historians as Ptolemy the 13th. He was only 10 or 11 years old. He was not very interested in ruling a country. That gave Cleopatra freedom to rule the way she wanted. But Ptolemy's 13th advisors did not want Cleopatra to have so much power. They helped Ptolemy to take control of the throne. Cleopatra was either left or was forced out of Alexandria. She went to the country of Syria. There she raised a small army. By 48 BCE, she was ready to return to Alexandria to fight her brother and his advisors for the throne. Oh, well, that's a question I have right now then, is what happened during the fight with her brother? Now, you may be thinking of some more questions yourself, and so I'm actually going to stop it right here. We'll come back, and you'll see one more question from me, but I want you to think about your own questions right now.